How about them apples?
Yeah, Kristen Aguirre is live this morning learning how to turn fruit into cider. Kristen?
Yes, I am here at Edgewood Orchards with owner Jim Zellerman, and he's going to tell us all about how he gets their secret recipe of apples into cider. So this is a huge tradition in your family and here at the orchard, making cider every year.
Yes, we've been in business for 82 years now. It was founded by my grandparents, and this Saturday will be the first day of cider. And we make the best cider anywhere. And I look forward to seeing people walk up to this spigot with a smile on their face, pull the spigot. Nothing comes out today, but on Saturday morning, we'll have 2,000 gallons of cider on hand, and people will be able to get a sample and purchase their cider.
And so this is what they get the cider out now, but you guys used to put the cider in these jugs over here, right?
Yes, these are original jugs from 1930, or even earlier than that. And back in those days, they put them in these jugs. Now we package them in plastic, very similar to how they package milk. And we'll be talking more about how we make our cider and how wonderful it is.
And so you were saying before, this is family-owned business. You guys have been around since when again?
It was founded by my grandparents in 1930. We're the third generation. I have two brothers, and the three of us are now Edgewood Orchards.
Mm-hmm. And so what do you exactly put into your cider?
Well, that's a secret. But first of all, you have to have good quality, clean apples. They have to be ripe. And then the blend is the secret.
Mm-hmm. Well, coming up throughout the show, I'm going to try to crack that secret and see exactly what kind of apples they put in there. And also coming up later, we are going to take a look at the process straight from picking the apples all the way to it ending up right here in this cider tank.
I think in order to crack it, she needs a big magnifying glass, don't you?
I do. Maybe a trench coat of some sort and a hat.
And like a pipe.
Or like a hat, like a houndstooth hat.
Yeah, and maybe even a hound.
Well, I have a beagle, but I'm pretty sure he's sleeping right now. Kristen Aguirre is giving us a little lesson this morning, how to turn apples into cider.
Yeah, she's live at Edgewood Orchard this morning. Kristen, how's it going?
It is going good. I'm still trying to crack their recipe, but we're going to learn how the apples go right from the orchard to the cup that you're drinking that cider in. First things first, we have to pick the right apples.
Well, we grow 14 varieties of apples here at Edgewood Orchards, and we have about 3,000 trees. And certainly good quality apples is one of the key ingredients of making great cider, and we do make the world's best cider, but it's only one of the key ingredients. Last year we made about 10,000 gallons of cider, and we expect to be making more this year.
So what's the process in picking the apples? I know you guys have to pick the perfect apples to go in the cider.
Yeah, well, the real key is growing the perfect apple, and that's what we try to emphasize. And we pick into bins that hold about 800 pounds of apples, and we put about 15 of those, or about 12,000 pounds of apples, go into one batch of cider. That makes about 1,000 gallons.
So how long does it take to pick all of these apples?
Oh, it's a continuous process. We start in late August, and generally we don't end until late October.
Mm-hmm. And so after they pick the perfect apple, then they go into these huge crates, and then the crates end up?
Then the crates end up going into a variety of different purposes, but one of the key ones is going into cider. And we make a lot of cider.
Mm-hmm. And so the crates go from the orchard into their cider room in the back, and then the next process is for them to get washed. So coming up later in the show, we're going to show you why it's so important to sanitize those apples.
We also extend our good morning wishes to Kristen Aguirre, who is trying to crack the secret recipe for the Edgewood Orchards apple cider.
Have you found out anything yet, Kristen?
No, I am going to get this before the end of this show. I'm with Jim Zellerman right now, who is the owner of Edgewood Orchards here. Jim, what's in the recipe?
I'm not telling you. Only my family and my dog Cooper know the recipe.
Ah, all right. So we're not going to crack the code just yet, but we are learning how they get the apples straight from picking from the orchard right to the cider that's in your cup. Well, earlier in the show, we saw that you have to pick the perfect apple to get the best cider. Now, what's the next process?
Okay, well, good quality fruit makes a big difference, but cleanliness is very important too. And before we make a batch of cider, which is a lot of apples, we make about 1,000 gallons at a batch, and that's about 12,000 pounds of apples. And before we make that, we sanitize all the equipment, And all the apples go through a washing process. They get washed before they go to the grinder, and they get ground up into a very juicy pulp that becomes cider.
And we were saying that getting that equipment sanitized is really important.
Yes, cleanliness is very important. We take that very seriously, and good quality fruit, clean process, clean apples is one of the first steps in making great cider.
And so why grind them? Why do they go through that grinding process?
Well, you have to get them very juicy so that they can be later pressed.
And so coming up later in the show, we are going to show you what comes after it being pressed, and we're going to actually see the cider come right out of the apples.
Well, if she can't crack that code, maybe she can get the Bush's baked bean secret.
Out of the dog?
Yeah, seems to be kind of a similar situation there.
Yeah, she's live from Edgewood Orchards. She's trying to crack the code. I have a feeling she's not going to get very far this morning.
Cider House rules.
No, I haven't got any far. All I know is that apples go into the cider. So with me now is Jim Zellerman, owner of the Edgewood Orchards here. We've been seeing all the process of how the cider's made. We went from picking the apples to them getting sanitized and washed and going through a grinder. Now what's next?
Okay, the apples are ground up into a very juicy pulp, and then they go via a pump over to the cider press. And we have a very modern press. You fill one side, you start pressing that, and then while you're filling the other side.
And so the grinder takes them, they go kind of through this hose, and then they're manual, the cider pulp is manually put into the press, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And so what's the next process in the press? Is squeezed, or?
It's squeezed, and then you fill the other side while that's squeezing. You get about 50 gallons per press. So since we make about 1,000 gallons per batch, that's a lot of presses.
And so after it goes into the press, where is it hosed to next?
Okay, it goes to some temporary holding tanks. Everything is stainless steel to maintain the cleanliness. And then it goes through a ultraviolet process. We have chosen ultraviolet over pasteurization because pasteurization affects the flavor of cider, while the ultraviolet process that we chose meets the same requirements and makes a very good quality cider that has all of the wonderful flavor that the best cider in the world should have.
And you were saying the ultraviolet, while most juices maybe are getting pasteurized, this still is FDA approved.
Yes, it is.
All right, and so after it goes into those giant tanks, then it ends up right here for you to go ahead and pull out into your cup. So coming up, I'm going to actually taste this cider and give one more crack at trying to crack that secret recipe.
I think that you have a better job getting it from the dog than you will from Jim.
Yeah, I think Kristen's kind of mean.
Yes.
She's going to try the cider. Yesterday she had the fudge and the coffee and the cinnamon
I know,
rolls.
this is the best week ever.
Yes, but we have Heath creamer in our coffee.
That's what we live
So
for
we
today.
win.
Kristen Aguirre has been learning how to make apple cider all morning, trying her darndest to crack the code into the secret Edgewood Orchards recipe.
Yes, and last we talked to her, she said she was going to taste it. Have you tasted it? How is it? Let us know everything. Tell us it all.
I am going to taste it right now. All morning we have been watching how the process is actually made, going from picking the perfect apples to going through the grinder and watching the actual juice come out. Now it's time for the big reveal. I'm gonna try the cider. So what do we have here, Jim?
Okay, this is actually frozen cider from last season because the cider that we've started making isn't quite ready yet. We'll be jugging it and it'll be available on Saturday morning. We'll have 2,000 gallons available Saturday.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and it's the moment of truth. I've never had this cider before, so I'm excited to taste it.
There you go.
All right, let's see, is it as good as everyone says it is? Oh, it is. It is so good. What's in here? Come on, just give us the recipe.
Well, I'll tell you two of the three primary ingredients. One, you have to start with really good apples, and we do that, and they have to be clean and ripe. The third part is the secret recipe, which is the blend and the mixture of sweet, tart, etc.
And that's something just we'll never know. We'll just never know. So people want to come out and also try this amazing cider. What can they do?
Well, this Saturday morning we'll have 2,000 gallons available, and we'll be continuing to make it, and we'll have cider for the rest of the season. And don't forget, We'll have cider slushies also, and they are absolutely out of this world. If you haven't tried one, you have to come out and do that. And then the following weekend, October 6th and 7th, we have our open house, which is a really big event, fun for the whole family. We'll have apple tasting. We'll be giving tours of our cider room. We have free popcorn, face painting, lots of fun.
So if you want to come out and try the cider or even buy some of the great apples they just have here, make sure you check out Edgewood Orchards.
Kristen, what time on Saturday do they open?
What time do you open on Saturday?
9 a.m.
9 a.m. So
Bright and
Lindsay,
early.
we will be here.
You say bright and
Bright and
early,
early.
that's like so late for us, but
I
on
know,
a Saturday night.
but for most people,
early.
it's bright and early.